both NPFL, NNL, even NLO teams are playing in this particular tournament. And remember, none of these leagues are actually underway yet. Usually it's the NPFL that gets started first, then others will also come into action. But now they are all just trying to recruit players, try to ensure that they build a formidable team ahead of the forthcoming season. And Shooting Stars are not left behind as well. I saw their first, like I said, a couple of new names there. Samuel Stone. Do you know him? He previously played for Eimba. I don't want to describe
Stone.
Yeah, Samuel
Stone.
Onokube Stone.
Stone.
Yes,
as in Stone.
Yes,
Stone.
That's his surname.
Wow,
but when
what
you look
is
at him,
surname?
it looks like a stone indeed, because he's a bit thick, but he plays as a striker, quite physical one at that. They also got a couple of names as well. They also written a couple of names, likes of Opeolua, who was actually the captain of the team for today's game against Gombe United. So, interestingly, it is still in terms of the team trying to recruit players, and how this goes in Nigerian football. Really, you hardly find a team going, or like where you actually have it in foreign land, or say in Europe, where, say for instance, Newcastle go to Chelsea and of course sign Reece James without subjecting him to trials or anything. No, it doesn't work that way, because usually most of these players always claim that they are not attached to a club. So that gives the impending team or intending teams to actually sign them, subjecting them to trial sessions, or have them play friendly games, and then see whether they are good enough for the team. So that's essentially what Shooting Stars and most of the other teams are doing at the moment. And I think from what I've seen, I think they look so sharp, even though there are still some names that perhaps will not really surprise a lot of people. Names like Ajani Ibrahim as well, back with Shooting Stars, at least for now. We don't know whether we'll
back with Gbenga Ogunbote, you mean to say?
Whatever. Back with Shooting Stars. He previously played for Shooting Stars now, so
back with Gbenga Ogunbote.
I would say back with Shooting Stars. I don't know what you're trying to say, and I don't want to be part of that. But I feel Ajani Ibrahim is not old yet, he's not tired yet, so he's also part of the Shooting Stars players at the moment. Whether it's going to actually make it to the season is what I do not know. But I think, like I said, Shooting Stars look very, very sharp. Their first game was on Thursday. That was the first game of the tournament, 8 a.m. on Thursday against Beyond Limits. Beyond Limits are presumably the under-19 team of Remo Stars. Beyond Limits actually scored the first goal, and then Shooting Stars responded with 4 goals. They eventually won the game 4-1. Gombe United arrived for the tournament on Thursday evening, played their first game against Sporting Lagos yesterday, and today very early at 8 a.m. as well, they had their second game against Shooting Stars, and they lost 2-0. Both goals scored by a player for Shooting Stars. The same player actually got a brace. Fantastic first goal, 1-touch passes, and boom, behind the reach of the goalkeeper. So I think indeed Shooting Stars look a bit sharp. They look quite confident to actually make it out of that group as well. I don't know why you are giving me that cheeky smile though, but
I was going to ask a question that might throw you. But don't worry, I'm going to ask the question anyway. You won't see it coming, but go on. Complete your thought.
I think I don't want to be caught unawares.
You can't escape this. I was going to ask about Sporting Lagos and how. I told you can't escape this. I told you can't escape me. I told you. Okay. So I was going to ask about Sporting Lagos and how they are looking like going into the new season in relation to what last season was like. I mean, many people do not know Sporting Lagos. So that's what I wanted to talk about.
Now you got me. To be honest, you got me. Yeah, I agree. Yes, Sporting Lagos last season, they barely avoided relegation from the NNL to the NLO. On the final day of the season, in fact, that final day they actually lost the game. That was supposed to be the most important game of the season for them, away at Go Round FC. But then they still lost the game 2-1. But good news was that result from elsewhere, favored them, and they were able to retain their NNL slot. So the management of the club have decided to, take a different direction this time around, start their preparation a bit early, and then ensure that they get the best of players, which I think they've started doing since the start of the month. And of course, from what they've been able to assemble, coupled with players that were retained from last season, that's what they brought for this Gold Cup tournament. And I dare say they've been quite impressive, even though the squad is not where it ought to be yet. I think from my understanding, they are still missing a couple of players, especially strikers and wingers, but I think they still look so confident. They won their first game on Thursday by a lone goal against FC Bede. They won by the same scoreline yesterday as well against Gombe United. Today they have a game against Beyond Limits at 3 p.m. Then on Monday they will wrap up their group stage proceedings with a game against Shooting Stars. So I think for Sporting Lagos, they look looks so confident right now, and it seems that team is pretty much on the pathway towards something quite interesting. Hopefully, they'll be able to actually achieve it.
Remo Stars are not in the Gold Cup, are they?
No, they are. They're in the other group. That's Group A. That has Manchester United, Gateway. They have Shooting Stars as well as Remo and one other team as well.
Now, the reason why I asked about Remo Stars is I was wondering how they were responding to their the outstar at the continental stage. That's why I asked the question. I was wondering if they found a way around the disappointments that greeted them once after they failed to score on their own after doing very well away from home. So I wanted to know how they were responding to that.
The first game they had was against Sunshine Stars. It was more than just a friendly game. Blessing. I didn't see the game live because it was happening simultaneously with another game that I was seeing. But good news is that these games are streamed on YouTube, so I was able to actually follow it in bits and pieces. And it was more than just a friendly. It was rather just somewhat a feisty derby, as you'd expect of two Southwest derbies. Two Southwest teams rather. That was on Thursday actually. Sunshine Stars had a man sent off. Remo Stars also had Andy Okwe sent off. But at the end of the day, both teams settled for a 1-1 draw right there in Ikene. So that was meant to be Remo Stars' first game since they returned from that quite disappointing outing in the CAF Confederation Cup. Barely just about 4 or 5 days before them. But at the end of the day, that was rather just their start, because earlier this morning as well they were in action, I think against a team in the NLO, and I'm trying to get the result, the full-time result. I followed the game till the end of the first half. I think it was 1-1 at the end of the first half, but I want to check. Okay, against Amola, yes, they eventually won the game 4-2. Remo Stars won the game 4-2. Quite an impressive performance right there from Remo Stars, as you'd expect of them because of the golfing class. Between Amola and I think Amola is an NLO team. That's a third division team against a team that is, that was meant to play in the CAF Confederation Cup for a long time this season. So I think that class was able to speak for itself for Remo Stars, and I don't know whether that would really, maybe even winning this tournament to really help them, soften the pain and the disappointment they suffered over the course of the weekend, in that game against AS FAR of Morocco or not. But what you'd ordinarily expect from a professional team and a professional player is to ensure that they put that behind them and then take on what is, right ahead of them, which I think they are doing just well for now.
Okay, away from the Gold Cup, we're going to take a break now, pay some bills, and when we return, we'll switch our attention to the international break with the international friendly matches that we had, and also the UEFA Nations League, the results of games played from yesterday, and also talk a bit about that. There has been something brewing between Super Eagles players and journalists. If you were on Twitter yesterday, then you must have seen a lot of back and forths between journalists and players. Well, after this break, we'll talk about that. It's still What Sport. Keep it locked. We're streaming live on our Facebook fan page. We'll be back in a bit.
Splash FM 105.5.
Àríkẹ́ ojú rẹ̀ ṣe akọrẹ lọ báyìí.
Bọ̀dá wà sún ewé fílẹ̀ òjé. Alọ́jà òya.
Ọjà àyà bíi ti bó. Ó túmọ̀ sí pé ọmọ lo Mama ATM sọ̀bù ẹnu.
Bọ̀dá wà sí ìwé dákun. Ewu tún ni Mama ATM POS.
Mama ATM ní gbogbo ìtajà tó ní sọ̀bù ń lò báyìí. Ìwọ wo Sadé tó ní sọ̀bù nísàlẹ̀ ọjà lọ́hùn. Gbogbo gbala ń bára máa ń wo sọ̀bù rẹ̀ tọ́jà rẹ̀ sì ń yán kíákíá. Torí wípé ń lo Mama ATM POS. Ìyẹn nìkan kọ́ àwọn ń bára tó bá tó ara nǹkan lẹ́yìn dòdò sọ̀bù rẹ̀ àtúmọ̀ ara research card. Eléyìí tó tẹ̀ jáde lórí Mama ATM POS. Àwọn ń bára máa ń gbowó lórí Mama ATM POS machine. Wọ́n á tún fi owó sórí ìdìkódà DSTV, GoTV àti StarTime lọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀. Sọ ti wá mọ ìdí tí sọ́ọ̀bù Sadé fi gba ìbúbọ̀ ládùúgbò báyìí tó sì jẹ́ pé kò sí mọ́wọ́ ní gbogbo ń bára rẹ̀. Ọ̀jẹ̀ yára tètè lọ gba Mama ATM POS. Káwọn ń bára rẹ̀ mọ ìyá ń kẹ̀tíkẹ̀tí.
Ó ní ṣe wá gba Mama ATM POS machine.
Kàn sí Mama ATM ní nàbà 6A Ọ̀lànìyàn Fagbemi Street off Mobile Bus Stop lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ for Real Event Center Ìyàgànkú GRA Ìbàdàn. Nílùú Èkó Suite 18 Aláùsá Shopping Mall Ìkẹjà 0809 950 0554. Mama ATM gba owó pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn.
ShopRite incredible weekend only deals. Go reach September 25. Buy 6 850ml 5 Alive Poppy after juice for 379 naira 99 kobo for one. Come save 420 naira. Only inside ShopRite, yo. Sachet price when you fit trust all the time.
Why is this television signal clear?
What? Since yesterday? And this fridge isn't cold? I can't believe this.
Okay, I could barely sleep last night because of this noisy generator.
Wahala for who don't see original electronics buy.
Solar
Solat Telecoms and Electronics Store, the Jagaban of phones and electronics, is the one-shop place to get quality original electronic appliances at the lowest price this season. In fact, Solat is currently offering you 20% end-of-the-year discount on flat-screen TVs, deep freezers, generators, air conditioners, washing machines, gas cookers, and other appliances. What are you waiting for?
Visit Solat Electronics Showroom today at Obafemi Awolowo Way, J. Allen Dube, Balloon Building, Abayomi Bus Stop, Iwo Road, Solat Mega Store, Mokola, and Challenge and other outlets.
Call Solat Electronics today on 0813-539-9886 or 0816-706-6973.
Offer on while stock lasts.
Solat Electronic Awoof Sales. You deserve the best.
Are you in need of a nice and comfortable, fully furnished hostel accommodation in the University of Ibadan? Or are you in search of a place for seminars and executive trainings? Look no further. Adebayo Akonde Hall is the go-to place for your lodging needs with a home away from home feel. Adebayo Akonde Hall is a 4-star hostel built in a serene environment with constant supply of electricity. It has fully furnished rooms that gives you great comfort at an affordable price. Adebayo Akonde Hall is located at Ajibode Extension, University of Ibadan. For inquiries and reservations, visit www.adebayohall.com or call 080-5699-8718 or 080-5699-8719 or 080-5699-8720. Adebayo Akonde Hall. Built for comfort. Built for you.
My people, better don't land. Make una come see Ogbonge cable where them manufacture for Obodo, Nigeria. Now Purkem Cables. Purkem Cables na correct electrical cable where they reliable, dependable, and the people where they make them call they safety conscious. Purkem Cables get original copper and aluminium cable for different sizes them where you fit use for electrical wiring level for anywhere. Whether na your house, or na your office. The price uncle, you know the tear pocket at all. Nationwide distribution don't start. For more information, call 0808-030-3257. 0808-030-3257. Purkem Cable and Wire Limited. They have print compound, 4 tickets, 122/132. Also, the Apapa Expressway, Iyano Solo Bus Stop, Lagos. Purkem Cables, Nigerian electrical contractors endorser, SON approver. Purkem Cables, now you be go.
Your baby is here! Congratulations!
Do not waste time. Put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery to give that first yellowish milk colostrum. Colostrum has all the important nutrients your baby needs to start a healthy life. Remember, put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery. This message is from the ANRIN Project, Federal Ministry of Health.
Canada needs immigration to massively drive our economy and help fill the huge labor shortages. The government of Canada is determined to attract more than 1.2 million families and individuals to relocate between 2021 and end of 2023. This is unprecedented. The government of Canada will allow only those who will be employable to get the permanent visa. Jonathan King Limited will assist professionals, graduates, and artisans in various fields and trades to go to Canada and prosper. Education in Canada is not just one of the best in the world, it is one of the cheapest. Jonathan King Limited will help students secure full-time graduate and postgraduate admissions to tertiary institutions. Full-time students are allowed to work in Canada. There are also opportunities for scholarships, grants, or at least interest-free loans. Pick up a registration form immediately at Jonathan King Limited, 1st and 6th floors, Cocoa House, Ibadan, and the Bronx Bookshop, former CMS, besides Our Saviour's Cathedral, Ijebu-Ode.
Registration ends 18th of October, 2022.
Splash FM 105.5.
Okay, thank you for keeping along with us right here on Splash 105.5 FM. It is still World Sport here with your duo, Blessing Fowo and Ayobami and Nima Shaw. And now straight to talk about international friendlies and the Nations League. Starting with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They've had a 2-2 draw with second string Algeria yesterday. And there was goals from substitute Alex Iwobi and Cyril Dressers that ensured that the Eagles avoided a third defeat under coach Jose Peseiro. But before the game, what had ensued between journalists and players was something of note, because when the news broke about Wilfred Ndidi that he had left the camp of the Super Eagles, he was injured and returning to England, a journalist had tweeted that according to his sources in camp, that he had it on good record that Ndidi left because the coach had asked him to play centre back and he said he wasn't going to play. And really, at that point, I wondered, is it that we lacked centre defenders in that squad to have expected Wilfred Ndidi to play in that role, or was the coach thinking that Ndidi couldn't lock down that defensive midfield role that he has so thrived in? Maybe there was a new kid on the block who was coming to take that and he wanted to shift him into that centre-back position. But then the journalist said he had a good source who told him that he left because he couldn't take up the centre defender role, and then Ndidi went on Instagram and Twitter to respond to the said journalist, saying that he said a lot of things and then ended with, that is why when you journalists beg for interviews, we do not answer. And that sparked a nerve from journalists across social media. And I wanted to know how you would respond to this. I mean, these are two sets of people, I should say, who need each other the most. Journalists need the footballers also need the journalists. Should we be embroiled in this situation?
No, we shouldn't, which is why, just like you're surprised and a bit disappointed, I am as well. I share that kind of feeling with you, because at this stage of Nigeria's football development, when we should really be focused on how there will be a seamless transition with the NFF election, and of course ensure that league football is back before the end of the year, we are rather embroiled in this kind of back and forth, which shouldn't have been in the first place. But I think when you now dig deep into the root of the matter, you understand both parties really have somewhat some valid claims as regards what has led to this. To be honest, I've covered so many national teams in the last say 6 years now, and it is something that is quite peculiar when you have a particular footballer in Nigeria representing the national team claiming that journalists are always flocking in quotes. Now, whether that is really translating to journalists begging for money or not is what I'm not privy to.
Begging for interview, actually, that's what they said, not money.
You can understand. You can understand what they are insinuating. But then at the end of the day, because I wouldn't expect a player considering a journalist begging for interview to actually be any wrong move from the journalist. That is what is expected. Even a certain Amanpo was seen, up against the Iranian president,
yes.
And we'll understand what happened. So I think it is a norm in the business of journalism, or in this industry. But I think what they just didn't want to say, or what they didn't want to go further categorically to state, is journalists begging for money, which I think is
begging for jerseys and begging for money.
All sorts, which is really quite sad. There are some. I wouldn't exonerate all journalists, as much as I know most of my own friends, including myself, don't do that. Including you, Blessing. I can name a long list of journalists that I know who don't do that.
Yes.
Exactly. But sadly, I also know a few that do that. So perhaps those are the ones that are actually tainting the industry and tainting the profession itself for journalists. And then conversely, when you look at the perspective of the journalists as well, talking about players feeling too big, I think I kind of share that.
And not just even players, and it's not just something that happens with football alone. I mean, we know how hard it is for us to get interviews, to get some of the star athletes to sit down for interviews. Interviews, for instance, you're sponsored as a journalist, you're sponsored on a trip by your company, spending how much, 2 million, 3 million naira there, about varying degrees. You are mandated to produce
as much content
as possible, and you cannot get your job done just because the star athletes won't make themselves available for interviews.
But I think it's just a case of, firstly, I think this goes out to Swan. SWAN itself should really be the first line of action in this context, because they should be the first body, the first vociferous body in this situation, to be able to actually sway one in terms of support for all journalists, and then ensure that for everybody that is tagged a journalist, and for everybody that is issued that ID card, is someone that can actually, deliver the profession to the topmost level. Because nowadays, like you can actually, allude to, we have so many people calling themselves as journalists, and that way, one way or the other, has affected the profession some way. So it has given some of these players leverage, not only call journalists as those begging for whatever it is, but also refrain themselves from granting interviews. Because how funny would it be when you have a journalist asking funny questions? You just told me about one before we started the show. So it leaves these players with that sense of lowered expectation from journalists whenever they want to grant an interview. So except you actually have a personal or interpersonal relationship with a journalist, that is when you can have a very easy access to a player in terms of interview, in terms of discussion and all that. Otherwise, it's very difficult, because there's already this general perception or general thought about journalists being substandard here in Nigeria, which I disagree with. But it's very hard for me to only just disagree, but also, it's very easy for me to disagree, but very difficult for me to now go a step further to prove that indeed this claim is not valid. Because when you look around, you see so many of them also claiming to be journalists, and then
really. And it's the thing that I know several instances where I don't want to limit this to players now, but star athletes generally.
Coaches.
I use coaches, yes, and I use athletes.
What happened here in Ibadan last season?
I know, right?
The NPFL.
And I use.
Should I go further?
No, don't go further.
I was pained.
Don't
to
go
be honest,
I was.
Don't go further. What was I supposed to do? I just kept mute.
Don't go further.
Edith Agoye, I will go further. Don't stop me, blessing. I was pained, honestly. I was pained.
I know because you needed to deliver content
Really?
for a specific. Yes, I know. I have been in your shoes as well. And I know. And when I say athletes, it's a blanket cover for everyone who is in football, who's in athletics, who's in maybe basketball generally. And I do not mean it as maybe the athletics, angle and all of that. But I've seen many instances where the journalists that you so vilify, you come back running to them when you need them for PR basis. And then you forget that media sometimes is about setting agenda. So you need them to get something off of the way. Then you come back to journalists for PR, media, whatever. And here you are picking a battle that you literally cannot win.
You see, it goes way beyond just relationship between foot athletes and even journalists. I think it encompasses the lifestyle of an average athlete, in the sense that some of them are a bit short-sighted. They are very lavish in terms of their expenditure, and somewhere it affects them a whole lot on the long run. Maybe in terms of whenever they want to eventually draw the curtains of their career, or maybe their career is taking a nosedive and they need that, push back up at one way or the other, they would easily forget that when moments like that eventually come, you will need some people. You can't possibly do it alone. For you to even get an opportunity for you to showcase yourself once more, there has to be a bit of opportunity, a bit of platform to push you one way or the other. Maybe not in terms of trying to hype people, but essentially make sure that you are not forgotten in the mindset of people, so that when there is going to be an opportunity for players or athletes to be considered, at least you'll not be easily forgotten. So that's essentially what I'm talking about in terms of pushing and platform. But sadly, most of these outlets tend to actually forget this so easily, such that we know the vivid example that was actually trending in the last 2-3 days about a particular player that couldn't get a club in the last for a year or thereabouts, needed the media one way or the other to help his career back up. I think it's maybe considerably back up now, and that is why it's becoming a bit vociferous about what is currently going on. But I think all that being said, it's really about orientation and reorientation for athletes. I understand the right for you to choose where and how you want to engage media.
Yes,
and fans.
Sometimes you're not even up to having an interview,
Exactly.
which is allowed. I mean, I understand that totally.
Exactly, but then never leave out the room for the. Never consider shutting the door at the media. It is never advisable. Be you a football body, a sports body, or even an individual athlete. It is never ever advisable, because remember, for all that you do within your sports arena, it only makes sense when you have fans to celebrate and to follow it. And there's always going to be the room for you to create a link between your activity on the arena and of course that fans, and that room, that connectivity, that's the media. Is the media. And if of course you don't have one, then there always be that huge gap, and you know what that means to your career as well.
Okay, let's move on now to talk about the games. And the 2-2 draw with the Algerian Chan team. They're preparing for the Chan tournament, which they will be hosting. And we had a couple of, I don't know if you saw the game. I didn't see the game.
I didn't see it
there were a couple of players who Pesero handed their first starts. For instance, Rafael Nwadike and Ibubedu. Pesero handed them the first start in the encounter, while he also recalled the trio of Maduka Okoye, Chidozie Awazem, and Tara Wuni. They were also named in the squad. Olaino played, William Tristekong, Valentine Ozowan for Chidozie Awazem, Frank Onyeka, Chidera Ejuke, Ademola Lukman, and Tara Wuni. They were all in the starting lineup. But in the second half, we had Francis Uzo come on board, Adele Adebayo, Zaidu Sanusi, Cyril Dresser, Xavier Godwin, Sterem Murphy, Kevin Wakpoguma, Kelechi Iheanacho, Moses Simon, Iwobi, Calvin Bassi, and Kenneth Omero. They also took part in the second half. But Alexander Iwobi has taken his club form at Everton down to the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and definitely we love to see that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time we saw him was the game against Tunisia at the Nations Cup, was it?
Yeah,
where he got red card. He came on board, and within seconds or minutes, as the case may be, he got a red card and he was sent off. And then look at the way he's rebuilt himself.
Yeah. Because, to be honest with you, leading up to that moment where he got sent off against Tunisia, Iwobi's career at the club level and national team level was facing a nosedive. But happily for me and for him now is that he has, one way or the other, revitalized himself, especially at the club level. I think for this, I need to give huge kudos to Frank Lampard. Yes, he's not getting the result at Everton, but I think the fact that he has played a key role in terms of trusting Iwobi with enough playing time, and of course the man is also repaying that, top-notch performances week in, week out, has really helped the former Arsenal player, to be where he is right now. He is not the finished product in terms of where I think he can actually play. I feel he still needs to actually improve a lot more in terms of, generating the starts. Yes, it makes a lot of key passes of fun. He also create chances as well. But how about popping up with some vital goals and of course assist? Doing more assist as well. He covers a lot in terms of total distance covered. He now throws himself into tackles, which I think is quite strange from what you'd ordinarily expect from a typically will be about 2-3 years ago. So there is a bit of elements of development that has created this game now. But regardless, I still think there is room for more. But then, having said that, what he showed yesterday or last night against Algeria,
he got a goal.
Yeah, it's
very sweet goal. I've seen the goal.
It's quite impressive, and that's just like you said, a testament of where Iwobi is right now, both at the club level and of course at the national
and
level.
Mentally as well.
And I think for a player like that, it is always very, very good to celebrate him, because in Nigeria or even Africa generally, let's face the facts, there's a shortage of top level central midfielders. I feel that way. Now, gone are the days when it used to be about, maybe top-level goalkeepers or top-level central defenders. Now I think it's all about central midfielders. Thomas Partey, for me, has dropped. There's one at Napoli. I think there's Anguissa, who I think is doing so well right now, the Cameroonian. What's his name? Idrissa Gueye has dropped. So, essentially, what I'm just saying is central midfielders right now in the game of football from Africa, there's a lack in terms of top-level performance from them. But I haven't seen what Iwobi is doing right now. It seems like he's trying to give us that breath of fresh air and renewed hope. Exactly that, indeed. This position is not going into extinction in Africa, and indeed some other youngsters out there can start looking up to players like this as well to possibly just develop their game.
Okay, we play the Algerians next on Tuesday, but this time around it's their main team. We're playing the main team of Algeria on Tuesday in Oran. That's in the second friendly game against Algeria. Let's move on from there, but still sticking with Nigerian stories here. After 3 weeks of intensive training, head coach of the Flamingos, Bankole Oluokere, has selected a list of 21 players for this year's FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in India. The Flamingos are in Group B with Germany, Chile, and New Zealand. The 7th Under-17 Women's World Cup holds in India from the 11th of October straight on to 30th of October, and Oluokere invited 35 players to camp. but 14 players failed to make the final list for the tournament. I'm not very sure these players are names that you probably would know, but then you might have to take notes because you'll be seeing them next. When we're going to the under 20, we talked about certain players that we should look forward to, like Deborah Abiodun and Esther Onyenezide and Sebastian Flourish as well. Now, these are names that when you start seeing them in the national team, in the senior women's national team, then you know, yes, we saw them somewhere, and that was at the under 20 women's World Cup, even though they couldn't get to progress past the quarterfinal stage of the competition. But this time around, on the under 17 team, they have a chance to do better than the under 20. And the goalkeepers, we have Faith Omilano. There's also Linda Jikwaku. There's Jessica Inyama. Defenders Olamide Oyelola, Josephine Edafe, Comfort for Lauren Shaw, Miracle Usani, Tumininu Adeshino, Blessing Sunday, Aleshe Artavel. There's Immaculate Ofyong as well. The midfielders, we have Chidera Okenwa, Blessing Emmanuel, Miri Aderemi, Bisola Mosaku, and Taiwo Afolabi. Forward players, we have Omomi Bello, Opeyemi Ajakaye, Eddie Diong Etim, Alvin Dazosu, and Yetunde Anyon Tosho. That's the under 17 players who are going all the way to India to represent Nigeria. Since the competition began in New Zealand 14 years ago, Nigeria has only once been absent from the 2018 finals in Uruguay. But unfortunately for us, we have not had the kind of success that the under 17 men's team has had for the country. I hope we can change that and write a better history. I should put it that way. In other groups, we have Group A, where we have India, United States of America, Morocco, and Brazil. In Group B, Germany, Nigeria, Chile, and New Zealand. In Group C, Spain, Colombia, Mexico, and China. In Group D, Japan, Tanzania, Canada, and France. That is for the under 17 Women's World Cup coming up next month right there in India. And now to other international friendly games. Let's talk about Brazil and Ghana, where Richarlison scored twice as Brazil showcased their World Cup credentials by putting on an attacking masterclass in that 3-0 victory over Ghana in Friday's friendly right there in Le Havre. Now, Marquinhos headed Brazil in front from a corner, and Richarlison doubled the lead before the half hour. The Tottenham Hotspur striker nodded in third on 48 minutes in that game. What was I think a much better second half showing from Ghana, but still couldn't help them as well. They lost Thomas Partey to injury in the warm-up on what was a challenging night for the Black Stars. Arsenal fans will not be happy to hear about Partey returning to the physio table here with injuries right there on the national team assignment. And we had debut for Atletico Bilbao forward Inaki Williams, who he had one cap for Spain in 2016, and but now he's made his switched allegiance to Ghana and made his debut for Ghana. Mohamed Salisu as well from Southampton made his debut as well. Came on at half-time. And former England under 21 international Tariq Lamptey, another of Ghana's new recruits, scored his first minutes and for the four-time African champions as Otto Addo emptied his bench. And the man himself, speaking after that game, said there were lots of mistakes everywhere, and that's attributed to their defeat to the Brazilians. Listen to Otto Addo here on World Sports.
Okay, then you have to, if you see how many times they scored 3-4 goals, then nobody's ready then. Nobody's ready then to play against Brazil. Brazil is a good team. And like I said, what I'm very disappointed of was the set pieces. And if we take this out, maybe we go luckily with 1-0 into the halftime. I don't know. So, but it hasn't got anything to do with I'm not ready or the players are not ready. I know what mistakes we made. I saw some clips already, and also in halftime. I don't think, to be honest, the third goal was a foul also. So it's not only me who's making mistakes, maybe also the referee, I don't know. So a lot of mistakes everywhere.
Okay, that is the Ghanaian coach Otto Addo there. Says a lot of mistakes everywhere. Maybe even the referee himself made a mistake. He said he doesn't know. But that interview is courtesy of Ojora Babatunde. It was at the game, and he spoke with the coach, asked him a question. In fact, the question he asked him about his tactical prowess. Yes, heading into the World Cup, playing against top teams, and the coach, what he had to say about that was, lots of mistakes everywhere. But here, this is where I'm looking at Ghana's preparedness ahead of the World Cup, which is in just about 2 months from now.
Less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months, as the case may be. I've seen their. I'm looking at Otto Addo's record so far as Ghana coach. The game against Nigeria was a draw, both legs, goalless at first, and 1-1 in Abuja. They've had a couple of friendlies against Japan, which they lost. I can't remember the other teams, but basically in the last 5, 6, 7 games, it has not had a very good result.
They lost against
all.
Qatar back in August. Of course, they lost against. They won against Benin Republic. That's Chan actually. They defeated Chile. That's in Kirin Cup Invitational Tournament in June. They lost against Japan as well in that particular tournament, 4-1. So it's been somewhat sinusoidal performances right there. Results, from
that does not breathe confidence into the
it doesn't. But I think it's just about the roads they feel they wanted to take going to the World Cup in terms of opening, their squad to redevelopment, which I think is very, very tricky at this particular time. Yes, Ghana were never really particularly impressive during the qualifying series for the World Cup, but then they managed to get the ticket. So I thought what they should rather be
at the expense of a lackluster Nigerian team.
Why are you trying to?
It still hurts me so bad that we have now been reduced to sparring partners.
That's what you get when you fail to qualify.
Target practice. Okay,
that's what you get when you fail to qualify for major tournament.
They pay me.
Yeah, I know, right? I feel the pain too. Considering even the plans that have been scattered and oh my goodness,
business is spoiled everywhere.
Let's just move on. So for Ghana, they are practically just going through a rebuilding process right now. Like you said, a couple of our players have been invited. In fact, a couple of them, in fact, got their debut yesterday. So that says a lot about how Ghana is far from a finished product yet, and time and chance are not even available in essence now before the World Cup actually gets underway. I think this is going to be the final international break. I'm not sure there's an international break next month.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So that means this is probably, their final preparation. The final preparation will probably just a friendly game before the start of the World Cup itself. So I just don't really understand why they're having to do this. But then it is the route that they felt they needed to take, and it has landed them against Brazil, which they actually lost convincingly. But I wasn't expecting so much from them anyways against Brazil. What I'm just noting is that the performance or whatever it is these new players are bringing to the table is quite substantial to help them, because they are grouped in somewhat a fair group, to be honest, in the World Cup. I think they are grouped alongside...
Fair group? Nope. Yes. Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. It is not a fair group. I'm sorry. It is not a fair group.
If you're going to the World Cup...
It is not a fair group.
Why do you think so?
Uruguay as a team and their rich World Cup history. Yeah. Portugal as well, with, Portugal has an array of stars. Forget that Cristiano Ronaldo may not be at the top level as he is at the moment. South Korea will always prove difficult for any African side.
Do you know why I said it's actually a fair group? Look at all these three other teams in their group. Which one of them has made it to the final of the World Cup in the last 10, 15, 20 years? Final of the World Cup? None. Exactly.
None. But I do not think that matters.
It does.
Because I think the question you should ask. I think the question you should ask in this case is, of all their other opponents, the other three teams in that group, how many of them have made it past the group stages of the World Cup in the last 10, 15 years?
All of them.
All of them. Yeah. How many of them have made it to the quarterfinals?
No.
How many have made it to the semifinals?
I know the answer to those questions. I know that. That's why I didn't put that to ask.
Please side by side Ghana's record at the World Cup.
Okay, blessing. Here is why I asked that question. Remember Nigeria's group in the 2018 World Cup? We were grouped alongside Croatia, grouped alongside Argentina, and one more team that we Bosnia, Iceland. Bosnia was 2014.
Was it Bosnia or Iceland?
Bosnia was 2014. We won 1-0.
Okay.
Goals scored by Odewenge.
Yes.
2018 was Iceland. Yeah. Ahmed Musa scoring a brace, I think, in that particular game.
Yes, he did. I remember, yes.
Going to that tournament, wouldn't you fancy Super Eagles' chances of making it from the group? Considering we are grouped alongside Iceland, who are debutants at the World Cup.
I would fancy our chances against Iceland. I didn't exactly fancy our chances against Croatia at that World Cup. I wouldn't lie, because I expected at least a draw.
But then you would fancy us to make it from that group. So how is that different from this? How is that different from this group? Because here you have just a group of wannabes who have not particularly done anything significant in the World Cup in the last 20 years. Now, okay, fine. Uruguay made it to the semis in 2010. That was the best of it.
Okay, so place Nigeria back then at that 2018 World Cup. Yeah. Nigerian squad, the path to qualification, the kind of array of stars that we, quote and unquote, stars that we had in that team. Now place them side by side. This current Ghanaian team, their path to qualification, the stars that they've had in the team, the quality of management, which stood out for you? I think that's
okay.
That would have an effect.
It does. I'm not disputing that, but like I said, very first thing I said that led to this conversation was that rather, Ghana are not a finished product yet. They are going through this process. Like I said, a couple of their players who you'd agree with me that they are top stars at their club level are just whatever, but they are just making their debut for Ghana, and you can't categorically say this Ghana team would not do better than their performance they had against Brazil last night if it were to be a FIFA World Cup game.
But the result in the last 7-5 games has not painted Otoado in glory.
You also realize that all those games, I'm quite sure a large chunk of players that play those games will not be at the World Cup. I'm quite sure. I'm very sure of that.
So you fancy
that is the essence of this process they are going through at the moment. So I'm just saying, I feel they actually have a very good chance in this group. I would rather, condemn them to not make it from the group if they had been grouped alongside the Frances of this world, the Brazils, maybe the Germans of this world. But listen, I think Ghana can actually hold their own against Uruguay. I think they can actually hold their own against South Korea.
South Korea against African teams? Yes. Have you checked the record?
Listen,
South Korea against African teams.
We are talking about Ghana. So tell me which African team has done excellently better than Ghana in the last 5 editions
at the World Cup? None.
So why are you making it look like
but this
Ghana don't have their own history either?
I'm sorry, this current Ghanaian squad with the kind of
now you're talking about the squad. You're not talking about history anymore.
Listen, I'm saying the squad that they have at this point. We're not going to be judging the team based on their history.
If you're doing that, then that's what you see. That's essentially even why I'm so confident that Ghana can actually hold their own. Yes,
I disagree that Ghana can hold their own in this group.
Squad for squad. We are doing World Cup preview. We should get sponsors for this. Honestly, we should.
But really, I do not agree. I think Ghana is going to find it very, very hard. Are we going to be having third place best?
No.
Finisher? None.
No.
I think
that is coming into place from the next that's going to involve I think 48 teams.
It's the reason why I say against South Korea, in my opinion, have better results history against African teams.
It's a game of 90 minutes. South Korea can decide to have a terrible day against Ghana.
Anyway, yeah.
And vice versa, though.
Indeed. We're just really looking at the chances of the Ghanaian side and where exactly Otoado stands, because fans are beginning to call him out and asking if he has all it takes to take them to the World Cup. And I do not know if we might be getting a knee-jerk reaction from the Ghanaian Football Association as regards
before the World Cup.
Yeah, before the World Cup. Wow. I mean, anything can happen.
That would just spell doom for them.
Yes, indeed.
Because Blessing don't trust them for now. Now you're having to make a knee-jerk decision.
No, I'm just saying if the fan pressure...
They should just give us the tickets. Nigeria will go back. I don't know.
I'm just saying if the fan pressure continue to rise on Otoado and also on coach the Ghana
Chris
Football
Hitton.
Association. Chris Hitton is also there as well. The Ghana Football Association as well. They might be forced to make a knee-jerk reaction, which we've not. It's not something that we've not seen before.
Any knee-jerk decision will probably be coming out after the World Cup. Okay. Which I think is
Nigeria.
I think is inevitable.
Not like Nigeria.
Regardless of what Ghana,
Not like Nigeria.
No. I mean, probably they would have learned from Nigeria's decision. So
okay,
that's why.
And let's move on. Really, there are other games to talk about on the show before we go on a break. And Babatunde Nigeria also asked Neymar what his relationship with Kylian Mbappe was like, and Neymar had that I prefer not to speak moment, basically. And then it seems as though something is brewing in that team, between the big three of Paris Saint-Germain. But of course, we're all here for the drama, and we're definitely going to talk about it. But I do hope it's not something that will set the team backwards though. And
listen, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, remember we had talks about Mbappe.
Yes.
And you showed me a start.
Yes.
Sadly, we couldn't talk about it during the show.
Yeah.
Don't you think we should start? We should start linking all of these things together.
Let's do that right now.
Okay. So because the start states that when was the start again? As at Monday.
Before the international break started.
Mbappe had not provided
assist to either of Neymar or Messi. Meanwhile, Neymar and Messi have both provided assists to Mbappe. Messi has assisted Neymar. Neymar has assisted Messi. But Mbappe has not assisted either of both players.
And are we sure indeed there is no...
And with this response given by Neymar here, indeed,
it seems there's
something
a lot.
brewing. That's a big question.
It's just that the results are probably just covering all of that up now. And if K is not taken, Christopher Gaultier might really be having his head on the choppy stick or whatever it is
on
right
the spike.
Now. Yeah, on the spike. If K is not, because it will be the one to eventually face the consequence. If results eventually nosedive, and then all of this drama that they've been trying to cover up for, say, a month or two now, eventually, springs its ugly head up, and then it becomes pretty much, something that is visible for everybody to see. I just hope it doesn't get to that. I just think they can really just find an amicable way to handle. I know it's very difficult, considering the kind of caliber of players,
the egos of these players
involved.
But
I think
huge.
it is rather better if faces that particular difficulty task or difficult task. I beg your pardon. Now than having to eventually possibly lose his job later.
And of course the World Cup break is coming, so I think that will also paper over the cracks a bit before
that's if the cracks doesn't turn into
I do not think it will before the World Cup. Okay, and moving on, before we go on a break, Lionel Messi scored twice and Argentina dominated Honduras 3-0 on Friday in Miami as the World Cup bound team continues to fine-tune its game ahead of the upcoming international tournament right there in Qatar. Now Messi was at the center of the action from the opening whistle, lobbing a pass to the charging Papu Gomez, who found Lautaro Martinez for an early 1-0 lead, and Argentina kept his foot on the gas in the second half, extending the unbeaten streak to 34 matches. They are knocking on Italy's unbeaten record here, and yes, they are.
That's true.
They are. I think about 3 or 4 more. I think it's actually 3 more victories to them. 3 more victories, and then they will equal that record held by Italy.
Italy went another quick World Cup.
Let's not go there. We need to go on a break. And next up for Argentina is another friendly, this time against Jamaica on Tuesday in New Jersey. And the United States got their World Cup preparations off to a poor start as they fell to a 2-0 defeat against Japan in Düsseldorf, Germany. I'm saying keep an eye on these Asian teams. That's what I've been trying to tell you while they're talking about Ghana and South Korea.
I'd rather keep my eyes on
the African Argentina. Okay.
Their group, I don't say Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia. Nigeria is not there.
They'll make it out of that group. That's easy.
No, I'm just saying Nigeria is not in the tournament. So now they are grouped alongside Poland, Mexico, and Saudi
Nigeria would have
known the story.
Okay, I know, right? Yeah. And for USA, they lost 2-0 to Japan, and that was the first of 2 warm-up before they traveled to Qatar for the World Cup. Next up for them is Saudi Arabia in Spain on Tuesday in their final match before Bellator, that's the coach, must have submitted his 26-man World Cup roster on the 13th of November. Quick break on the show. When we return, UEFA Nations League gets our attention.
Splash FM 105.5.
I'm living the life because I get to
Hey, kọ́ńbù ẹ̀kú àlejò emú gbòǹgbòǹnà ẹ̀kú àlejò ẹsẹ̀ Ìbàdàn nílé Olúyọ̀lé ẹ̀kú àmójúbà Tizeti Network Limited pẹ̀lú Tizeti ìlú omi òjò lẹ́ẹ̀ máa lo ayélujára íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì níyàwálù torí pé gbajúgbajà ní iléeṣẹ́ Tizeti Network Limited nídìí ìpèsè ayélujára lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà fún iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá àti olókoòwò kéékèèké lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti ẹ lè browse kẹ́ stream kẹ́ sì tún gbá géèmù bó ṣe wù yín láì níkọ̀sẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìlànà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́mùkú data kèé máa ṣeré ìwọ ni kò má sọ̀fànù 12,500 naira pé lẹ́ẹ̀fì jẹ mùlá data fódìdí oṣù kan gbáko lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti láì níkọ̀sẹ̀ ẹ kàn sí wifi.com.ng/OYO ẹ sì lè pè 01-2298-786 tàbí kẹ́ ẹ tẹ àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ sí internet@wifi.com.ng ayélujára níyàwálù.
Ọmọ ti dé, ọmọ tuntun jòjòló òkú oríire. Má jáfara o, gbọ́yàn sọmọ lẹ́nu láàrin wákàtí kan àkọ́kọ́ tọmọ délé ayé láti fún un ní àkọ́kọ́ sí omi ọyàn aláwọ̀ òféèfé yẹn tí wọ́n ń pè ní colostrum. Àkọ́kọ́ sí omi ọyàn colostrum yìí ní gbogbo èròjà pàtàkì tọmọ rẹ nílò láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìlera pípé ó sì ń dènà àrùn. Rántí o, fọmọ rẹ lọ́yàn láàrin wákàtí kan àkọ́kọ́ tó o bímọ. Ìkéde yìí wá láti ẹ̀ka àkànṣe iṣẹ́ ARIN nílé iṣẹ́ ètò ìlera ìjọba àpapọ̀.
Canada needs immigration to massively drive our economy and help fill the huge labor shortages. The government of Canada is determined to attract more than 1.2 million families and individuals to relocate between 2021 and end of 2023. This is unprecedented. The government of Canada will allow only those who will be employable to get the permanent visa. Jonathan King Limited will assist professionals, graduates, and artisans in various fields and trades to go to Canada and prosper. Education in Canada is not just one of the best in the world, it is one of the cheapest. Jonathan King Limited will help students secure full-time graduate and postgraduate admissions to tertiary institutions. Full-time students are allowed to work in Canada. There are also opportunities for scholarships, grants, or at least interest-free loans. Pick up a registration form immediately at Jonathan King Limited, first and 6th floors, Cocoa House, Ibadan. and the Bronx Bookshop, former CMS, besides Our Saviour's Cathedral, Ijebu-Ode.
Registration ends 18th of October 2022.
Àríkẹ́ ojú rẹ̀ ṣe akọrẹ lọ báyìí.
Bọ̀dá wà sún ewé fílẹ̀ òjé alọ́jà òyà.
Ọjà àyà bíi ti bó ó túmọ̀ sí pé ọmọ lo mama ATM sọ̀bù ẹnu.
Bọ̀dá wà sí ìwé dákun. Ewu tún ni mama ATM POS.
Mama ATM ní gbogbo ntajà tó ní sọ̀bù ń lò báyìí. Ìwọ wo sadé tó ní sọ̀bù nísàlẹ̀ ọjà lọ́hùn. Gbogbo gbala ń bára máa ń wo sọ̀bù rẹ̀ tọ́jà rẹ̀ sì ń yán kíákíá. Torí wípé ń lo mama ATM POS. Ìyẹn nìkan kọ́ àwọn bára tó bá tó ara nǹkan lẹ́yìn dòdò ń sọ̀bù rẹ̀ àtúmọ̀ ara research card. Eléyìí tó tẹ̀ jáde lórí mama ATM POS. Àwọn bára máa ń gbowó lórí mama ATM POS machine. Wọ́n á tó fi owó sórí decoder DSTV, GoTV àti StarTime lọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀. Sọ ti wá mọ ìdí tí sọ́ọ̀bù sadé fi gba ìbúbọ̀ ládùúgbò báyìí tó sì jẹ́ pé kò sí mọ́wọ́ ní gbogbo ń bára rẹ̀. Ọ̀jẹ̀ yára tètè lọ gba mama ATM POS. Káwọn ń bára rẹ̀ mọ ìyá ń kẹ̀tíkẹ̀tí.
Bó o ní ṣe wá gba mama ATM POS machine.
Kàn sí mama ATM ní nàbà 6A Ọ̀lànìyàn Fagbemi Street off Mobile Bus Stop lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ for the Live Center Ìyàgànkú GRA Ìbàdàn. Nílùú Èkó Suite 18 Aláùsá Shopping Mall Ìkẹjà 0809 950 0554. Mama ATM gba owó pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn.
Iná mọ̀nàmọ́ná a máa fúnni ní ìmọ́lẹ̀ a sì máa mú ìdẹ̀rùn wá láti wá dènà ìjàmbá iná mọ̀nàmọ́ná. Ojúlówó wáyà tàbí kébù ló yẹ ká fi fa iná nínú ilé, lọ́fíìsì àti nínú ìlú. Pure Wires and Cables ní àwọn ilé-iṣẹ́ mọ̀nàmọ́ná àti àwọn agbaṣẹ́ṣe yàn láàyò. Ojúlówó ni, kì í bó lára, kò kì í jóná àbáàdì, kì í kán sínú, ó sì fini lọ́kàn balẹ̀. Ìdí nìyí tí Standard Organization of Nigeria fi fòǹtẹ̀tẹ̀ tí Nigeria Electrical Contractors náà fi dìbò fún. Bí copper cable ṣe wà ní aluminium cable ń bẹ nípele lówó tí kò gún pa. Pure Wires and Cables tó jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ Kaman ló ṣe ojúlówó wires and cable jáde. Olú iléeṣẹ́ Pure Wires and Cables Limited wà ní Afrin's Compound, Fort Gate, number 122/132, Oṣòdì Apapa Expressway, Ìyànà Ìsọlọ̀ bus stop, Lagos. Ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọn ní 080-803-03257. Pure Wires and Cables. Ìrọ̀rùn fi iná mọ̀nàmọ́ná.
ShopRite incredible weekend only deals. Go reach September 25. Buy 2 Checkers 500-gram vanilla custard powder for 599 naira 99 kobo for one. Con save 250 naira. Only inside ShopRite, yo. Sachet price when you feel trust all the time.
Splash FM 105.5.
Okay, we are still here on World Sport on Splash 105.5 FM. It's the international break, and we're taking our time to go into some of those games and really look for what we are looking forward to for the World Cup coming up in less than 2 months' time. And some teams are having fine-tuning games to help them get into the groove and into the mood as they get ready for the World Cup. International break is upon us. And, of course, the UEFA Nations League, we had some games played yesterday. Hungary stone host Germany 1-0 courtesy of Adam Slazer's sensational heel flick. That's yesterday to stay on course for a Nations League Final Four spot with just one game left to play. The 34-year-old Hungarian captain, who will end his international career after their last League A Group 3 game against Italy on Monday, raced to near post and flicked the ball into the net with his heel from the corner in the 17th minute to leave goalkeeper Marc-Andre ter Stegen frozen on the spot. Now, Germany is in third place on 6 points. They suffered their first defeat under coach Hansi Flick in their penultimate game before the World Cup in November and can no longer qualify for the Nations League Final Four. England are bottom on 2, and England are at the risk of relegating to, away from that group. But before we even talk about England, I want us to talk about Bukayo Saka real quickly. Why? Bukayo Saka was voted England's Player of the Year, and that drew lots of, comments and thoughts across social media, really. And even the boy himself said he was shocked, and, no way. In fact, his immediate response was no way. Like, he didn't expect that he was going to be given this award as England's Player of the Year. And many people are wondering, Bukayo Saka, should he have won the award at all? Arsenal's Player of the Year, England Men's Player of the Year. To be honest,
should he have won?
Deserving? Some say it's a pity award.
That's where I'm going to, honestly. Considering the fact that actually fans voted for this. So that means it could be a pity award, it could be a popularity contest as well. Because in the last 1 year, Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho obviously had their profile, read repeatedly. They became more or less the talk of the town amongst fans, considering how they were subjected to that racial abuse, in the final of the Euros last summer. So ever since then, I think that must have really helped him. But if I were to actually look at it from the technical perspective, maybe not. I would rather probably go for a certain Hurricane. I think it has just been quite phenomenal right there for England. But I think this is rather somewhat a good one as well for the boy. I mean, Saka. It was rather just something quite difficult to take, even for me as a person, considering what happened to them. I mean, the 3 guys last summer, but having to actually have one of them emerge as the player of the year now is somewhat a very, very good news, at least for me on the personal perspective, looking at it from that angle. And I think the boy himself must have really welcomed this with both hands and probably share it amongst the other 2 lads right there, because indeed it is what we expect from football. I saw his press conference when he received the award. It was funny enough, he was interviewed by young lads, 8-year-old kids, and he was just having fun with them, which I think is the essence of the game itself. There should be no barrier, there should be no restriction. So I think maybe this is rather an award that's quite surprising. Maybe on the part of technical outlook, he's not the most deserving player, but when you take it outside of that, considering the fact that fans were even asked to vote, yes, I agree. He deserves it in terms of popularity, in terms of even his own personal input to the team, in terms of his versatility as well. Last night against Italy, he played the left wing back position. Bless him.
And he was poor.
He was poor, but
from that rule,
he wouldn't say no. The coach wanted to play him there, and he wouldn't object. That's what you expect of a top-level player, who is ready to devote his all, not only to the team but ultimately to the country. So I think
the real.
Exactly, whatever you mean.
You know what I mean when I say
middle elk or whatever, I don't know. But then I think it's really,
not Western. Anyway.
It's really good stuff right there on this part, and I'm so happy for it.
Okay, we'll talk about that game where England lost to Milan 1-0 yesterday, and Gareth Southgate, despite the fact that he lost, said the performance is a step in the right direction. And someone is having a go at him for that comment. We're going to be talking about that when we return from this break with our partners at the BBC for the BBC Premier League update. Our phone lines are open. You can call us 0809 155 1055, 0856 998678, 0706 949 3000. After this.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Paul Serres at the BBC Sports Centre. Italy beat England by 1-0 in the Nations League in Milan thanks to a second-half strike from Giacomo Raspadori, a result that relegates the Three Lions into League B from next season. It's now 5 matches without a win for England and 5 matches without a goal from open play. The Manchester United and England centre-back Harry Maguire says that they're struggling to find the creative spark required to win matches.
Yeah, well, I think international football is built on fine margins. It's built on being clinical in both boxes, showing that bit of quality when the game's tight and then opening it up maybe with a set play. We haven't done that tonight. We haven't performed them well enough. But yeah, international football is tight games, it's tactical games, and it's a game of chess in a lot of in a lot of aspects. And you've got to produce that moment of quality to take the lead in the game and then get control of the game. And at the moment, we haven't been doing that.
England's final match before the World Cup is against Germany at Wembley on Monday. Elsewhere, Brazil were 3-0 winners over Ghana in a friendly match in France, with Tottenham's Richarlison scoring twice. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo has been charged by the English Football Association with improper and/or violent conduct over footage which appeared to show him knocking a phone out of a fan's hand. A video was shared on social media alongside comments claiming he had smashed the device as he left the pitch following Manchester United's 1-0 loss at Everton in April. Ronaldo later apologised and was cautioned by police regarding the incident in August. Manchester United say they will support Ronaldo in his response to the FA charge. And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Welcome back from that break with our partners at the BBC for the BBC Premier League update. England lost to Italy last night, 1-0, and Gareth Southgate says it is a step in the right direction. In his words, it is difficult for me to be too critical of the performance. We had more possession, more shots on target for large parts of the game. We played very well. It's a spell where ultimately results are going to be the thing that everyone reacts to, but I thought there were lots of positive for us to take away from that team. Sounded a lot like Sir Arsene Wenger. Hello, who's on the line?
Jeez.
Hello, who's here? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. What's your name and where exactly are you calling us from?
So this is Olubenga Ogunanke.
Oh,
class captain in the building.
Oh, class captain.
Yeah, it's live from afar, actually.
From Qatar? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm just joking. I'm just pulling your leg.
I mean, I was going to say, how would you go to Qatar without bringing me along?
No.
What's that?
I use luggage.
What's that?
Why should he bring you along? Buy your ticket. Buy your ticket.
Really? Welcome.
Yeah, so nice one, Blessing and Ayo. It's quite a low list to me.
I know, right?
I've been listening to both of you talking, and I just wanted to make my comments on 3 points, actually.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so the first one, the Super Eagles playing their first match in a long time against the Team B of the Algerian national side.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say it's just a test game. Nigerians shouldn't read so much meaning into it. It's an opportunity to test a couple of players who have not, had the opportunity to play. And of course, what do you expect those players to be jittery? It's everyone wants to impress. So for me, it's not something we should be so worried about. We didn't lose, and a 2-2 draw, I think, is fair. When I watched the highlights, I think it wasn't as bad as we expected. A couple of mistakes here and there. So I think going into next week, I think the team will do better. It's an opportunity for us to have something to cheer about. We are missing out from going to Qatar. So I think we should just support Joseph Pesero and see how we can get the best out of this player. So for me, nothing to worry about. Secondly, for Ghana, I watched the match against Brazil. For me, I would say the coach will be under fire. Honestly, is going to be under fire. Comparing their results, looking at how far they've gone. Against Nigeria, it was just a narrow escape, honestly. Yeah. I think Nigeria deserved to be in the World Cup, but it is what it is. Ghana went, and they got the ticket. So I think the coach is going to be under a lot of fire. For me, he's a very good coach, very experienced, but at this stage, it's a bigger stage, so you really need, the experience that you need as much as possible. So I see, if the Ghanaian FA want to make it, they can get, someone attached to him, and then
they already have one person. Chris Utin is attached to Coach Otto. So
I know Chris. Yeah,
we are not seeing his imprint on the team. That's what I'm feeling.
So I think it's the job role. It's the job role given to Chris. I think it's the job role given to him. Yeah, so if he could be made, to step up into the team and then let him take charge, while you also have, the coach, the local coach also being there, I think it will help because you can't go beyond whatever you are trying to do. And then lastly, I want to talk about the under-17 national team.
The women's team.
The Flamingos.
Yeah.
Yes, so I think they should get, they started their preparation. They'll be in Turkey for a couple of weeks to train, and then before they get out
to India. So that's true.
So I wish them the best. All our teams are fluttered when it comes to the competition. They fluttered, and the only way we can put smiles on Nigeria is for them to do well. So I wish them all the best.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Benga Ogunake. We'd like to see you here in the studio physically again.
Yeah, very soon. I'll be there.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for calling. 080-9155-1055, 08056998678, 0706-949-3000. That's where you can find us this afternoon. Taiwo Sunday on Facebook says, I agree with Blessing. This Ghana team will struggle against Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. I don't see them making it out of the group stage. Thank you. Someone sees what I'm talking about here. Yeah. Doesn't seem to get it.
I don't. I honestly don't.
I mean, it's okay to have contrary opinion. Yeah, honestly, it is. Hello, who's here? Who's on the line?
Hello, good morning.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What's your name, sir?
My name is Yusuf.
Except you are calling from the US. I can understand if it is morning over there.
Good afternoon.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Oyo. Good afternoon.
United States of Oyo.
Oh, USO. Welcome.
Here we go. Good afternoon. First off, I want to talk about the Ghanaian national team.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I feel that in as much as we want to underplay the fact that Nigeria performed very poorly against them, that put the ticket to the World Cup to them on a platter. Because to me, I feel it was on a platter. I feel the Ghanaian national team, they are going to struggle. They are going to struggle very, very hard, because even for the new recruits that they just got, Williams, Derek Lamptey, and all of that, before all of them could settle in, considering the fact that there is not much games to play before the World Cup, I feel this is not that time. On the other side, I also want to talk about the English national team.
Okay. Gareth Southgate.
They've not scored in open play for quite a number of things now.
Yes, the last one was for Harry Kane.
Yeah, and they performed very, very poorly. But the thing that I want to say, not to defend England or Gareth Southgate, but I feel that they are good, no matter how easy and simple that it looks. It's still a tricky one. I mean, the Nations League group. Yeah. We do remember that Hungary defeated even the German national team yesterday. Yes. To tell you that there hasn't been any pushover in this side. Yes. But that's not to say that the English national team has been doing well. I think the fact that Gareth Southgate is playing most of these players out of position, the likes of in my opinion, Bellingham played out of position yesterday. Same thing to Bukayo Saka, just like you already mentioned. I feel because of that, and it will happen because I feel Gareth Southgate is not one of those modern coaches. That's just pragmatic coaches that play dull football. So I feel that's why it has been like that. If the team has maybe played well and lost to Italy, it's a different thing than playing very poorly.
Okay, you need to wrap up your thoughts. Wrap up your thoughts, please.
So that's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for calling, Yusuf, all the way for United Streets of Oyo. Thank you for being here.
United Street or State? Now you sabi.
We have to go on a break, but I want us to wrap this Gareth Southgate and England discussion before we go on this break real quick. We're already behind time on that. Osam Ahmed Mido, the former Egyptian player, said he's called out Gareth Southgate. He says he doesn't have a clue, and he's been saying that for years, that Southgate is not a good coach. He might be a top bloke, but he's a weak manager and not good enough for a team like England. This is a yes or no question. Do you agree with him? No. Yeah. Okay, so you see him going for a longer time with England?
Maybe not, but I don't agree with him on the basis that...
Not being a good manager.
Exactly. Okay. I completely disagree with that.
Okay, let's go on a break. We need to take a break. We're back to the phone lines. When we return from this break, and then we'll talk about Roger Federer, who had his last match in professional tennis alongside his friend Rafael Nadal. Both of them were in tears. I mean, it was such an emotional moment. When we return from this break, we'll talk about that and also take more calls on the show. The Studio Sport, keep it locked.
In a world where almost every corner is a mechanic workshop, only one thing separates the professionals from the, non-professionals, and that's quality training. At Auto Clinic Academy, we're a NAPTEB accredited training center. We cater for existing mechanics that want to upgrade their knowledge and people that want to become mechanics or come into the industry. We have structured trainings for every category of persons. Our curriculum focuses on 60% practical and 40% theory with internship opportunities, while adopting the best practices from Europe and North America. And our faculty includes seasoned professionals that will impact both hard and soft skills in a serene learning environment. We are currently admitting students into various courses such as automotive appreciation, automotive service management, and automotive technology. We are located at 21 Adenuga Street, Bodija, Ibadan. Give us a call on 0809-990-7666. Email academy@autoclinicng.com. Auto Clinic Academy, knowledge for safe and profitable motoring.
Diary mi da, ọmọ, nǹkan ṣẹlẹ̀ o. So, bí Jùmọ̀kẹ́ get tó fine gan lọ́fíìsì wa yẹn fún bí ọjọ́ mẹ́ta nísìn kò wá síbi iṣẹ́.
bó má ṣe yọjú lẹ́ni nìyẹn ọ̀rọ̀ pọ̀ ní ìwé kọ́bọ̀.
Jùmọ̀kẹ́ ibo ló wà látijọ́ yìí ṣé kò sí ṣá.
ó máa rẹ̀ mí gidi gan mà ní ìgbà tí mo lọ ṣe test wọ́n ní COVID-19 ni o àní ó rẹ̀ mí débi pé mo rò pé màá kú ni.
Ọlọ́run má jẹ́.
Diary ọ̀rọ̀ náà má jẹ́ màá kọ́ lélẹ́yìí àní èmi tẹ̀ rò pé COVID yìí ti lọ ni àṣọ sì ń gbé àwọn èèyàn ní trabayé mo ti ṣe research mi báyìí and first thing lọ́la mo máa lọ gba abẹ́rẹ́ àjẹsára COVID-19 mi kódà màá mú àwọn mọ̀lẹ́bí mi dání pẹ̀lú láì fi ẹnikẹ́ni sílẹ̀ COVID-19 yìí kò rọ́yàn o.
dáàbò bo ara rẹ ẹbí ọ̀rẹ́ àti àwọn ènìyàn àwùjọ lọ́wọ́ COVID-19 gba abẹ́rẹ́ àjẹsára ní kíákíá.
gbà nítorí ìfẹ́.
gbà nítorí ìfẹ́. gbà nítorí ìfẹ́.
Kí ló ṣe tẹlifíṣàn yìí tóun rẹ̀ ò já geere ó tún wá ń wò báibái látànà tí náà bá ti ranjú kalẹ̀ fíríjì yóò tún tutù.
kí ló dènà táwọn èlò tí ń lo náà nu yàrá ìwà dẹnu kọlẹ̀.
ọ̀gá tipátipá ni mo fi rọrùn sùn látàrí ariwo tí jẹnẹrétọ̀ rẹ̀ ń pa wàhálà wà fẹ́ni tí ò mọ bí tí wọ́n ti ń ta ojúlówó ohun èlò tí ń lo náà lẹ́ńtíríkì o.
Solar Telecoms àti Electronic Store jagaban láàrin àwọn tó ń ta ojúlówó fóònù àti electronics pẹ̀lú owó tí ò kájàra lọ lákòókò yìí. bákan náà ni solar tá a máa fún yín ní ìdá 20% lórí àwọn ẹ̀rọ bíi flat screen TVs, deep freezers, generator, air conditioners, gas cooker àti àwọn ohun èlò yòókù tẹ́ bá rà lọ́wọ́ wọn.
kí ló ń dúró dè kàn sí èyíkéyìí yàrá ìfihàn solar tó wà ní Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀ way jayalẹ ní Dùgbẹ̀ Balloon Building Àbáyọ̀mí bus stop Ìwó road Solar mega store ní Mọ́kọ́lá àti challenge ìlú Ìbàdàn. lọ sí èyíkéyìí tó bá súnmọ́ lónìí kó o rọjú lọ́wọ́ fóònù àti electronics tó gbámúṣé.
pé Solar Electronics lónìí sórí 0813-539-9886 tàbí 0816-706-6973.
àjọsọ àtìlànà ń tẹ̀lé ń bẹ o.
o gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ gbádùn ayé tó dára.
Building on the successful completion of our first session with attendance testimony of our professional handling of the classes, we invite interested applicants to enroll for the next stream at the Splash FM Media Academy, an arm of the West Midlands Communications Limited. Our mandate to restore professional excellence in the broadcast industry is still on course, and that's why we invite you to hurry up and enroll now for full-time and part-time intensive practical lectures in presentation, journalism, programs and content development, basic production and digital media, presentation in Yoruba, and so on, leading to the award of Certificate of Proficiency in Broadcast Journalism. Course duration is 6 weeks of intensive practical classes plus interactive practical mentorship sessions with veterans and industrial placement. To register, visit the Splash FM Media Academy beside White House, Felele, Ibadan. For inquiries, call 070-543-93332 or 080-569-98676. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are at Splash FM Academy.
I'm living the life cause I get to
Hey, kọ́ńbù ẹ̀kú àlejò onígbòǹgbò ọ̀nà ẹ̀kú àlejò ẹsẹ̀ Ìbàdàn nílé Olúyọ̀lé ẹ̀kú àmójúbà Tizeti Network Limited pẹ̀lú Tizeti ìlú omi òjò lẹ́ẹ̀ máa lo ayélujára íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì níyàwálù torí pé gbajúgbajà ní iléeṣẹ́ Tizeti Network Limited nídìí ìpèsè ayélujára lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà fún iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá àti olókoòwò kéékèèké lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti ẹ lè browse kẹ́ stream kẹ́ sì tún bá géèmù bó ṣe wù yín láì níkọ̀sẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìlànà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́mùkú data kèé máa ṣeré ìwọ ni kó o má sọ̀fànù 12,500 naira pé lẹ́ẹ̀fì jẹ mùlá data fódìdí oṣù kan gbáko lábẹ́ àbúradà Tizeti láì níkọ̀sẹ̀ ẹ kàn sí wifi.com.ng/OYO ẹ sì lè pe 01-2298-786 tàbí kẹ́ ẹ tẹ àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ sí internet@wifi.com.ng ayélujára níyàwálù.
Your pikin don land. Hello. No dull o. Give your pikin breast milk sharp sharp inside 1 hour wey you born am. Make e take drink that first yellow milk wey dem dey call colostrum. That first yellow milk colostrum get everything wey your pikin need. Plus say e go protect your pikin against yamayama disease. No forget o, give your pikin breast inside the first 1 hour wey you born am. This message na from ARIN Project, Federal Ministry of Health.
Ìkéde pàtàkì ẹ̀yin ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ètò ìdìbò yan mìíràn ti yẹ.
Splash FM 105.5.
And we're back right here on World Sport on Splash 105.5 FM, reaching home stretch of the show this Saturday afternoon. No club football, no problems for us because we're enjoying the show, talking about all of these international games and the friendlies, the Nations League and things to expect. And we should talk about Roger Federer now. The numbers to call 080-9155-1055, 08056998678, or 706-949-3000. You can also find us on our Facebook fan page where we're streaming. If you would like to drop your comment via that platform, please go ahead. Hello, who is here? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Emmanuel from Iwo. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man.
Well, what's up? Well, for me, I don't know why everybody is writing Ghana off, really. I don't know, but I think, I'm just happy that they make over the fight, which I'm very happy about that. And I support them 100%. I mean, 2010, when these guys go the way, nobody will give them a chance. And in that group, Ghana that, Ghana's able to withstand the likes of Portugal, even South Korea, anything is possible. So people should just write them over. I see them that maybe they're probably going to be like Africa's top performer at the World Cup, being the center of Africa EJ. So I've got help in them. And for captains, the same, Nigeria deserves to be in the work, and they play like that. They play horrendously like that. Well, kudos to Ghana. They came to Nigeria, they met business, and they did well. So for me, I don't really care about the fight groups. Maybe after the World Cup, I can start to talk about them. But right now, I'm so bad. You're in denial.
I'm
not, but see, they just get out. They get out. If they win against Australia, that's their own problem.
Okay.
I want to play the World Cup. I'm giving my 100% support to Ghana, and they're going to do it.
Okay.
The Black Stars of Ghana. So, see, the stars is going to shine. Everybody in Qatar is going to do it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for calling, Emmanuel. Supporting Ghana all the way. Supporting AOI too. It says they're going to do well.
Which is rare.
Okay, which is very rare. I know, right? I know, right? It's always hounding you for talking about Liverpool. Yes, I understand. Let's talk about Roger Federer. It says he has retired exactly how he hoped, calling his career in tennis a perfect journey. It was emotional as he bowed out from the sport after playing one last doubles match with his great rival and friend in Rafael Nadal at the Lava Cup. Now, he didn't quite have the fairy tale ending as the pair narrowly lost 4-6, 7-6 to Jack Sock and Francis Tiafoe to the disappointment of the crowd. Nevertheless, it was a night of celebration for Federer as the tears flooded seconds after the match ended. Let's listen to Federer's on-court interview after he played his final professional game of tennis.
Look, it's been a wonderful day. I told the guys I'm happy. I'm not sad. So it feels great to be here. And I enjoyed tying my shoes one more time, and everything was the last time. And funny enough, with all the matches and having the guys and being here, fans, family, friends, didn't feel the stress so much, even though I did think something was going to go, pop a calf or block a back or something in the match. So I am so happy I made it through, and the match was great. I couldn't be happier. So it's been wonderful. And of course, playing with Rafa on the same team and having the guys, everybody here, all the legends, Rocket, Edberg, Stefan, thank you. I didn't want it to feel lonely out there. I felt lonely for a second when they told me to go out, or you wanted me to come out one more time, and it felt great. But to be saying goodbye in a team, I always felt I was a team player at heart. Singles doesn't really do that a whole lot, but I've had a team, that traveled with me around the world. It's been amazing with them, so thanks to everybody who made it work for so many years. And then, of course, being on the team with Andy, Thomas, Novak, Matteo, Cam, Stefanos, Rafa, and Casper, and also all the other teams. You guys are unbelievable. It's been a pleasure playing all these Labour Cups, and it feels, and it does feel like a celebration to me. I wanted to feel like this at the end, and it's exactly what I hoped for, so thank you.
Okay, it is still World Sport. Don't get it twisted. It is the home stretch of the show, and any moment from now, we'll be getting out of the studio. But first off, Roger Federer is leaving the game, and Nadal speaking says it feels like a part of him is living with Federer leaving. I understand. I mean, great friends, rivals on court, but friends off the court. But here's what I want to know real quick, AY, in maybe very few words. Will the GOAT conversation change now? I mean, number of Grand Slam titles now. Federer has 20. Nadal has 22. Yep.
Djokovic has 21.
Djokovic has 21. So I'm wondering if the GOAT conversation will change after maybe a couple of years down the line. And of course, knowing that the Grand Slam titles remain the biggest factor in this GOAT conversation, is it going to change?
I fear it will. It's really difficult for me to admit, but then I think I fear it will, because we're now in the era of sports really that actually tilts so largely towards numbers and statistics, such that people hardly bother about your entire contribution to the sport anymore. It's just about numbers, essentially.
Stats.
Exactly. And once you have that kind of a conversation back and forth, it's always hinge on the numbers as regards how many Grand Slam titles did Roger Federer eventually get to win. And considering that even until his retirement, it was already behind Rafael Nadal and of course Novak Djokovic. I think that always really working. And then coupled with the fact that the next generation of tennis fans might not have really watched Roger Federer that much. Since 2020 till this moment, Federer has actually played in just 3 Grand Slam tournaments.
Yeah, limited games.
And within that time spell, Rafael Nadal, Djokovic have actually, been able to bust the world of ATP and all that. So I think all those factors might really just work against him when the conversation is being had, maybe some 3, 4, 5, 7 years from now. But ultimately, for me personally, that never changes, the man. It never changes his legendary status. It never changes, his GOAT status right there for me in the world of tennis.
I'm a big Rafael Nadal fan, but I do concede that Roger Federer is a GOAT. But Rafael Nadal is my GOAT, and I hope that he will be coming up with this talks about retirement anytime soon, because I can't understand how I'm going to take that.
But it's inevitable.
It is inevitable, I know, right? So and we are gradually getting there. But seeing that it's still in top 10 of the ATP rankings, I mean,
it's because his knee hasn't sent him the message.
I think
maybe his back. I think it used to be his back.
It used to be his back.
Yeah.
At some point, it was his left. Come on, that guy's a fighter. Forget. I posted a picture of Nadal and Federer in tears on the bench on my Twitter account, and Triple Beam replied saying, "This is real. How I wish Messi and Ronaldo will be like this when they both retire, appreciating what they both achieved in football."
Can they?
Never. Not even from the fan base. Never. It is never going to happen. That's what I want you to know. Never ever going to happen.
What other sport could actually offer us that? Where the two of the biggest rivals, individuals,
would
come together.
There's no sport coming to my mind right now, to be sincere. I mean,
I saw flashes of that when Anthony Joshua embraced Klitschko.
Oh, it's not going to happen. Please forget it. I was even going
to. Don't kill my hopes.
I was going to basketball. Then I thought I can see how fans of LeBron James and Steph Curry are going at each other on social media.
These guys are best of brothers.
It is not going to happen. Please, let's just move on from that conversation. We have to leave on World Sport this afternoon. Thank you very much to everyone who has kept faith with us, who's joined us this afternoon, called us, and also sent us messages on our Facebook platform. We appreciate you so much, and we know indeed that we can never do any of this without you and without your continued audience. Thank you for having us. Like I always say, thank you for welcoming us into your houses, into your hearts, into your homes, whatever it is. We appreciate you so much. Ayobami and Marsha on the Celebrity. Thank you for being here.
Muchas gracias. Let's end the show, blessing. Don't say anything else again, because I know what you're about to say. I'll hold again now, please.
Oh my God. My name is Blessing for wherever.
Splash FM 105.5.
Ìkéde pàtàkì ẹ̀yin ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ètò ìdìbò yan mìíràn ti wọlé dé báyìí má ṣe hun ìwà agídí ẹ jẹ́ kí a tẹ̀lé ètò òfin tó rọ̀ mọ́ ètò ìdìbò má ṣe jẹ́ ọmọ tí yóò da ìgboro rú má ṣe fi ọwọ́ sí ìgbìmọ̀ tí yóò da ìlú rú ẹ jẹ́ kí a dìde láti bu ẹnu àtẹ́ lu ìwà ìbìkítà ìwà jàǹdùkú àti ìwà láti dá rògbòdìyàn sílẹ̀ láàárín àwọn àwùjọ wa gbogbo jẹ́ kí a rí i dájú wípé a gbé ìgbésẹ̀ tí ó dájú láti dẹ́kun ọ̀rọ̀ àbùkù tí yóò fa yọpọyọrin ní àwùjọ wa gbogbo má ṣe darapọ̀ mọ́ ìgbìmọ̀ ẹlẹ́mẹ̀yà ìwà afipámúnilẹ́rú ìròyìn tí kò fẹsẹ̀ múlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ àbùkù sí ara wa ìgbà ẹ̀sìn sódì àti gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tí yóò pín wa sí ọ̀nà ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí orílẹ̀-èdè má ṣe jáfara láti fi àwọn ìwà ìbàjẹ́ tí ó wà ní agbègbè rẹ tó àwọn agbófinró létí fún ààbò orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà gbé ìgbésẹ̀ ní ọ̀nà tí ó bá òfin mu ìdáàbòbò ara rẹ àti agbègbè rẹ ọ̀pọ̀ ènìyàn ni wọ́n ti fi ìwà ìbàjẹ́ ṣayọ̀ nítorí àti di olówó òjijì ní àtàrí ìdí èyí ìwà ajínigbé ìpànìyàn ṣe ògùn owó di ohun àmúyangàn ní àwùjọ dẹ́kun ìpolongo ara rẹ lórí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára bí ara rẹ ní ìbéèrè lórí ìròyìn tí kò fẹsẹ̀ múlẹ̀ tí o fẹ́ sọ bóyá yóò ṣe àkóbá tàbí àǹfààní fún orílẹ̀-èdè yìí ṣe ètò ìdáàbòbò tí ó péye ní inú ilé rẹ ṣe ìtanilólobó ìrìn àwọn ènìyàn tàbí ìfurasí ìrìn tí kò bójúmu fún àwọn agbófinró tí ó bá wà nítòsí rẹ jẹ́ olótìítọ́ àti aṣojú tí ó dára fún orílẹ̀-èdè rẹ láti ṣe ìtanilólobó ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò pè sí orí àwọn ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọ̀nyí 08012224005 tàbí 08015-9-1-9 tàbí 080-8-8-5 tàbí ẹ̀rọ ayélujára dssprdss.gov.ng. Ìkéde yìí wá láti ilé-iṣẹ́ ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ ti ìjọba àpapọ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà.
Splash FM 105.5.
Running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
15 years ago, Splash 105.5 FM became the first independent radio station in Oyo State.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
With the best of engineers, presenters, and the entire staff who made it possible. And to the best of all-time managers, COOs and CEOs.
Dear men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969, became in peace with all mankind.
Splash 105.5 FM. The first and still the best.
Okay, eyes open. Everything's perfect right now. Hope you here. My name is Lafos, the proper goer of the comedians of the Federer Republic.
No. How many times I tell you say no? That's what they say disappear.
Hi, my name is Federer, and you're listening to Strictly